What's going on, guys? Shane here. Today we're talking about 3 variations to the uppercut. I often read comments online where people say, should I throw a short uppercut, a long uppercut? I've heard about this thing called a bolo punch. I want to clear the air and talk about the different variations that work in different ranges and scenarios. Let's get it started. So the first is the traditional uppercut. This is when you're in close. It's a tight ranged attack. Maybe you're in the clinch and you create a little bit of distance with a shoulder bump to sneak in that uppercut. Maybe you just slipped a jab and you stepped in so that you can land it. Either way, just know that your arm is bent at a 90-degree angle or less. It's just enough to be able to pop their chin or pop their face. It works great if you're a taller fighter fighting a shorter opponent, think Lennox Lewis against Mike Tyson, or if you're fighting an opponent that keeps bobbing and weaving and dropping his head low, perfect shot to land the uppercut. So when you throw the rear uppercut, we'll talk about first. Your feet, it's just like throwing a cross. You're going to pivot your rear foot, and why do we pivot our foot? So that we can turn our hips, get a ton of power in this. Keep the opposite hand high and shoot the uppercut. Try not to drop your hand too low or scrape your knuckles on the ground, as we say. You just want to try to shoot it right from where it's at. You're going to have a little bit of an arc, like the U shape. That's normal. Just try not to exaggerate it too much. Same thing with the lead. The lead uppercut is pretty much the same thing. It's almost like a hook, the same motion with your hips. You're just going to have that upward trajectory. The next is the long uppercut. So we use the example after you slip a jab and you step in. If you don't step in, what do? Well, you have to make up for the distance some other way. So you're going to extend your arm a little bit more. So it's going to go past that 90-degree bend, and that's okay. There's going to be less power on it, but the point of an uppercut is just to lift their chin up and then follow up with more punches. Yes, they can knock people out, but you don't want to stop after just one shot. You can also use this long uppercut to initiate an attack. Since it's long distance, you can throw it at jabbing range. I sometimes call it an upside down jab because that's more so what it looks like than an uppercut. It doesn't have to necessarily be that long. Again, it depends on the range and the situation. Now let's talk about the bolo uppercut. This is the shot that you see Conor McGregor use, but even before that, Sugar Ray Leonard used it. And even before that, a guy named Ceferino Garcia coined this move because he used to swing a machete in the similar motion to chop sugar cane down. So that's sort of how that punch came to be. It's a very unorthodox style punch, and it leaves you very exposed for a check hook, like a left hook. So you want to be careful when throwing this shot. You want to make sure your opponent isn't throwing a wide left hand because you're going to get caught, and it does take a while to throw this shot. But if you put it in your arsenal and you throw it every once in a while in a fight, it can be very effective. So all it is just throwing a swinging motion. Imagine that you're swinging a machete down to chop sugarcane, but then you're going to pull your hand up, squeeze your fist upon impact, and land that bolo punch. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to get the fight tips before your opponent does. Until then, I'm Shane with Fight Tips for the Underdogs.